The first rays of dawn painted Maplewood Lane in gold, glinting off the dew on my prized rose bushes. I'm James Wilson, 52, an accountant who's poured my heart into this modest ranch-style house in suburban Ohio for 5 years. Every morning, coffee in hand, I tend to my gardenia sanctuary of daisies, marigolds, and roses that neighbors stop to admire. But that serene Tuesday, as I uncoiled my hose, a shadow loomed across the street. Evelyn Harper, my neighbor and self-appointed neighborhood watch captain, was watching me through her blinds, her gaze sharp enough to cut glass. I didn't know it then, but I was about to be dragged into a war that would test my patience, expose ugly truths, and shake our quiet community to its core. Evelyn, a woman in her late 50s with a peroxide blonde bob and a penchant for meddling, had been a fixture on Maplewood Lane for over a decade. Since her divorce a year ago, her financial struggles were no secret, taking a part-time job at a local boutique, but still clung to her image as the street's unofficial queen. She'd printed business cards declaring herself the head of a non-existent homeowners association, complete with a logo she'd designed herself. Most neighbors rolled their eyes and humored her, but I kept interactions brief, sensing her entitlement could spell trouble. That morning, trouble arrived. Evelyn stormed across the street in a faded robe, her face twisted with indignation. "James Wilson, we need to talk about your water usage," she barked, planting herself at the edge of my lawn. "As the neighborhood overseer, I've been monitoring utility bills, and you're wasting water on those flowers while some of us can't pay ours." I set my coffee mug on the porch railing, stunned. "Evelyn, my water bill is my business. I pay it on time, every month." Her cheeks flushed crimson. "Selfish. I haven't paid my water bill in 3 months, James. My service is about to be cut off, and here you are, acting like you own the town's reservoir." The audacity hit me like a punch. "I'm sorry you're struggling, but I'm not responsible for your bills." "Selfish," she shrieked, her voice echoing down the street. "Where I come from, neighbors help each other. But I guess some people weren't raised with proper values." The words "some people" carried a weight that wasn't lost on Maya, veiled jab at my race, though she didn't say it outright. I clenched my jaw, refusing to take the bait. "This conversation is over, Evelyn. Figure out your finances without dragging me into it." As she stomped back to her house, I saw her grab her phone, gesturing wildly while glaring at me. My gut told me this was just the beginning. 3 days later, Evelyn upped the ante. She appeared at my door with a manila folder, her smile smug. "Good morning, James. I've drafted official neighborhood guidelines for Maplewood Lane. As the HOA president, I need you to review them." I flipped through the pages, my skepticism growing. The document, titled Maplewood Lane Community Standards, was a farce: rules about lawn ornaments, flower bed sizes, and a community water fund requiring residents to subsidize neighbors' utility bills. "Evelyn, there's no HOA here. You can't just invent one." Her smile faltered. "I filed paperwork with the city. It's official. And as president, I decide who gets help from the fun people like me, who are struggling because of neighbors like you." I handed the folder back. "This is nonsense. I'm not paying your bills, and I'm not joining your fake HOA." Her eyes narrowed. "You'll regret that, James. There are consequences for ignoring community standards and for not knowing your place." The phrase, "your place," hung in the air, heavy with prejudice. I shut the door, my heart racing. This wasn't just about money. It was personal. I called my friend Marcus, a paralegal, who confirmed my suspicions. "She's got no legal standing, James. Those documents are garbage. But document everything: her words, her actions. She's unhinged, and this could get ugly." Ugly it got. A week later, on a Saturday morning, I was tinkering with my motorcycle in the garage when I heard shouting. Evelyn was marching toward my house, phone to her ear, dressed in a garish yellow sundress. "Yes, officer, I need police immediately," she roared. "My neighbor is violating HOA rules and threatening me." My stomach dropped. She was calling 911 over her delusions. I stepped outside, phone in hand, and started recording. "Evelyn, what are you doing?" She held up a finger, continuing her performance. "His name is James Wilson, 124, Maplewood Lane. He's been hostile, yelling at me, making me fear for my safety." "I've never threatened you," I said, loud enough for the dispatcher to hear. Her eyes widened when she saw my phone. He's recording me without permission. That's illegal. It's legal on my property, I countered, gesturing to her feet on my lawn. She stepped back, flustered, but kept up her tirade about community violations. 2 patrol cars arrived, led by Officer Daniel Brooks, who'd helped me with a car break-in last year. He took one look at Evelyn's folder of guidelines and shook his head. Ma'am, you can't create an HOA without a homeowner vote. These papers have no legal weight. Evelyn's face turned beet red. I'm the neighborhood watch captain. I have authority. Being a watch captain doesn't let you demand money or make rules, Daniel said, stifling a smile. He turned to me. Mr. Wilson, have you threatened her? No, sir. I've told her I won't pay her water bill, and I've asked her to stop harassing me. It's all on video. Daniel nodded. Ma'am, making false 911 calls is serious. If Mr. Wilson isn't breaking laws, we can't act. And there's no water sharing rule. Evelyn sputtered. He's wasting water during a drought. There's no drought advisory, another officer chimed in. Defeated, Evelyn retreated, but her parting glare promised more trouble. The real escalation came days later. At 6:30 a.m., I was jolted awake by pounding on my door. Evelyn stood on my porch, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, shrieking. My water's been shut off, James. I'm covered in soap, and it's your fault for not helping me. Neighbors peeked out, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Lee next door gaped. Mr. Carter across the street started filming. Evelyn, your water's off because you didn't pay your bill, I said, trying to stay calm. That's not my fault. You're heartless, she screamed. You have a nice house, a fancy car, and a motorcycle. You can afford to help, but you choose to let me suffer. How do you know what I bought? I asked, alarm bells ringing. I watch this neighborhood, she snapped. I see your deliveries, your packages. It's my job as HOA president. There is no HOA, I said, my patience fraying. Go home, Evelyn. She leaned in, voice low. This isn't over, James. You'll learn what happens to people who don't act right. The threat sent a chill down my spine as she marched away, leaving a trail of soapy water. That evening, my water pressure dropped to a trickle. Outside, I found my main water line smashed, and water was pooling in my yard. The damage was deliberate sledgehammer's work, costing $900 to fix. I called Officer Daniel, my insurance, and a plumber. As I waited, I caught Evelyn peeking from her window, slamming her blinds shut when she saw me. Daniel inspected the pipe. This is vandalism, no question. Any suspects? I've got a good guess, I said, recounting Evelyn's threats. He questioned her, but she claimed she'd been at work. A call to the boutique revealed she hadn't worked there in months, fired for stealing from the register. Without hard evidence, Daniel couldn't arrest her, but he urged me to file for a restraining order. This is beyond harassment, James. Furious but strategic, I spent the next day at the courthouse, filing the order with my videos, photos, and Daniel's reports. I visited the city planning office, confirming Maplewood Lane had no HOA, and the water department, where a supervisor revealed Evelyn's account was current, paid $387 the day after breaking my pipe. Her water shutoff was a lie. She'd been bypassing her meter to steal water for months, a scam uncovered by a fraud investigation. The truth hit hard. Evelyn's towel stunt, her sob story, it was all a performance to manipulate me. I drove home, vindicated but enraged. As I pulled into my driveway, I saw a water department truck at Evelyn's house. Workers were inspecting her meter, citing possible tampering. Evelyn rushed out, panicking. What are you doing in my yard? We've got a tip about an illegal bypass, a worker said. They found it in her basement, a professional setup to steal water. Her service was cut off, and she faced a bill for thousands in stolen usage. She screamed, pointing at me. This is his fault. He's framing me. The tip came from our fraud unit, the worker said. Your account shows months of unpaid usage. Evelyn's lies collapsed, and her house went up for sale to cover legal fees. She moved to her sister's, and Maplewood Lane breathed a sigh of relief. 6 months later, that relief was shattered. At 9 p.m., car door slammed outside. Peering through my curtains, I saw Evelyn next to a beat-up sedan, looking unrecognizable, stringy hair, dirty clothes, pacing with a tattooed man who scanned the street nervously. She marched to her old house, now the Thompsons, a young couple with a newborn. Pounding on their door, she screamed, "This is my house. You stole it." I dialed Officer Daniel. "Evelyn's back, and she's not alone. Stay inside, lock your doors," he said. "I'm on my way." Evelyn tried the door, then cupped her hands against a window. When that failed, she grabbed a garden stone, raising it threateningly. "I know you're in there." The Thompsons' porch light flicked on, then off. They were staying safe. Her companion argued with her, pointing to their car, but she shook him off, dropping the stone. It shattered a window, and she laughed at a chilling, manic sound. "Oops, an accident." Sirens wailed as 2 patrol cars screeched onto the street. Daniel led 3 officers, approaching cautiously. "Mrs. Harper dropped the stone and stepped back." "This is my house," she shrieked. "That man," she pointed at my house, "ruined my life." "You sold this house," Daniel said. "It's not yours." She hurled another stone, cracking a second window. Her companion bolted, tires squealing as he fled. "Danny," she wailed, collapsing to her knees. "Everyone leaves me." Daniel moved in. "You're trespassing and damaging property. Calm down." Evelyn's voice turned cold. "He took everything me home, my dignity." He couldn't handle a white woman telling him what to do. The racial venom stunned the neighbors watching from their porches. "Mrs. Lee" shook her head. The Thompsons peered from an upstairs window, clutching their baby. When Evelyn reached into her pocket, an officer shouted, "Gun!" Weapons drawn, they ordered her to show her hands. She pulled out a phone, smirking, "Just taking pictures of police harassment." But her next words froze me. "This isn't over, James. I know where you live, where you work. I have friends now, friends who don't like seeing white women mistreated." She was arrested for trespassing, vandalism, and terroristic threats, but was released on bail by 3 a.m., backed by an unknown financier. At dawn, I found my tires slashed, a note under my wiper. "Told you I'd be back." I called Daniel, who admitted proving her involvement was tough without cameras. "Get more security, James. She's got dangerous allies." The final reckoning came in court. My evidence videos, neighbor testimonies, water department records was airtight. Evelyn pleaded guilty to vandalism, utility fraud, false reporting, and threats. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison, fined $15,000, and ordered to pay $1,200 in restitution for my pipe, hotel bills, and lost wages. A permanent restraining order barred her from Maplewood Lane. The Thompsons repaired their windows, and the neighborhood rallied, hosting a barbecue to celebrate our unity. Today, I sit on my porch, watering my roses, surrounded by neighbors like Mrs. Lee and Mr. Carter, who stood by me. The Thompsons' baby coos across the street, a reminder of new beginnings. Evelyn's gone, her schemes exposed, her hate rejected. Karma took its time, but it delivered justice. What do you make of this saga? Have you faced entitlement, prejudice, or violence in your community? Share your stories below. Let's debate how we confront injustice and build stronger neighborhoods. Your voice matters.